All right, we're back. We're back. Another week. Another inconsistent Michigan State performance. I mean, at this particular point, that's the only way that I can pretty much classify this. Wasn't able to get a larger footage version of the game. Obviously, I wasn't able to watch the game due to my work schedule and things like that. So I was kind of relegated to the extended highlights. Whereas in other weeks, I'm kind of able to more so watch the game or get a larger portion of the game to view. But I can pretty much I've watched Michigan State enough this year that I can kind of fill in the blanks for any blind spots that I may have. Right. But I'm gonna start this off by saying this. Right. I see the potential from the offense. I mean, I truly do. Even in these particular troubling times, I see the potential. I see the play action pass. I see Aiden Childs has the ability, right? Has the ability to make every pass from the deep pass to the short dump off and anything in between. Nick Marsh is good. Jerron Glover is good. Jake Velling, good. But they're gonna have to run the ball better, right? So watching the game, the portion that I was able to watch, like I said, I took a few things down. So I'm just gonna just go by my bullet points and just go from there, right? You know, there was a play where they threw the ball to Cornell Tate, right? Where it should have been a situation where it should have just been maybe at the most, maybe a 2 to 3 yard game, but horrible tackling, and to me it looked like there wasn't much effort, and he ended up getting a first down and then some. So it's like you can't allow for good teams to just get cheap plays like that. And that's what I consider a cheap play because you call that play in hopes of maybe your guy can out athlete some people and maybe get a block or something. But it wasn't a situation where that play should have been for that many yards, right? Michigan State was in perfect position to stop that play, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Holding them to a field goal after that first drive where they just kind of walked on down the field, I thought that was a positive. And I mean, it has to be a positive, right? Because this is a team that has a lot more firepower than well, not probably, they have more firepower. Well, I don't know that. I'm not gonna say that. I'm a little biased to Oregon, right? But yeah, I'll say it. They have more firepower than just a smidget more firepower than Oregon. But with that being said, this is probably the most explosive offense that you will play. So being able to hold them to a field goal after the way that they were able to go down the field, hey, is a positive, right? Um, the 4th and 1, where they called the quarterback sneak, right? Good call, but to me, from the looks of it, it just seemed like Ohio State wanted it more, right? The offensive line does the submerge. Aiden Child goes up in the air. Ohio State linebacker tackles him right there, right? It just seemed like Ohio State wanted it more, right? And in a situation like that, man, I mean, you probably are outmatched, maybe from a talent perspective, but hopefully you can win those just kind of based on technique, right? But kudos Ohio State, they wanted it more and they were able to get a stop. The Jake Velen fumble was crucial, very crucial, man, because it was a good catch. He routed his guy up, was able to get to the inside, and if he's able to hold on to that ball, I mean, who knows what that drive would end it in, right? Could have ended in a touchdown, potentially could have ended in I'm looking at the positives of it, touchdown or a field goal, right? So to me, that took points off the board, and I mean, I don't know if it's just a lapse in concentration, but again, like I said, these are the type of things that Michigan State you just can't do, right? You can't give a great team, you can't let them off the hook that easy. It's especially in a situation where, at least from my vantage point, it looked like there were certain situations where they had trouble guarding you, right? So you can't bail them out. Like, again, that play, Jake Velli, you open, Aiden Childs puts it on you, and you can't bail them out when you've found a weakness in something that they're doing, you can't bail them out. I mean, you can't allow for them to be bailed out like that. I mean, you just can't. But again, it's kind of what Michigan State's been doing this year. Um, Jerron Glover had a big return game. Coming back from injury and stuff like that. The quick hitter to the right down there in the red zone. Aiden Child just pulls up, throws him the ball. He's able to see that Ohio State doesn't have proper leverage, and he's able to run into the end zone. And again, like I said, I mean, it wasn't, at least to me from a perimeter standpoint, I don't think that, at least offensively, Michigan State, I don't think there was an advantage that Ohio State had, right? I think Glover and Marsh are two a duo of receivers that would give any duo or tandem or any secondary trouble, right? I mean, I think they're just that talented, right? And just need more opportunities, right? And this was a play that, the little hair that I do have left, it's first and 37. I mean, it's first and 20. And you give up 37 yards on a run play. You can't have that, man. I mean, I'm sitting here watching the play, and I'm like, why is this in the highlights? And then I see, they turn the ball, get the ball to Travion Henderson. Oh, that's why it's in the highlights. Doggone 37-yard run. Can't let them off the hook, man. When they make mistakes, you cannot allow for them to make a mistake and then cover up for the mistake they just made. I mean, you just can't do that. Again, kind of from what I saw, I didn't see a situation wholeheartedly where it looked like Michigan State was just overwhelmed to the extent that I feel like people would have thought they would have been. Obviously, the score indicates that it was a complete, you know, wash where it's like, look, these people didn't have any business being on the field with us, right? And then the only one that I looked like it was just complete mismatch, obviously, was Jeremiah Smith. Superstar freshman, just. I mean, he's a tough out for anybody, right? So you can chalk it up and say, look, boom, he's just that good. You know what I mean? But other than that, I mean, and maybe from an offensive line perspective, right? Because, going back and look at the box score, they did not get a sack this particular game. And that's something that, Michigan State leading up in every game leading up to this was something that they were able to do. They were able to get the quarterback on the ground. You know what I mean? They only had 3 tackles for losses, right? Which, again, that's something that they've had, in excess of 7 or 8, on average, throughout this particular season. So Ohio State was able to do some things up front from a protection standpoint that allowed for Michigan State not to be as effective, that defensive line and that pressure that they've caused not to be as effective in this particular game. So, again, kudos to them for doing that. You know what I mean? But that was a strength, right? And so if a team can take away a strength of yours, I mean, you have to find a way to substitute that in some other way. But unfortunately, it was a situation where Michigan State just wasn't able to do it, right? The child's fumble was costly, but from the angle that I saw, it looked like it may have been a face mask because when you look at the play, you kind of see his head kind of being turned, and then it kind of snaps back as the ball is coming out. And so usually when a situation occurs like that, it's usually like it's a face mask or something. But evidently, it wasn't. They went on right up. They went right next to the next play. And they moved on. So, and again, what was so hurting about that's in the red zone, right? That's in the red zone. This is a situation where the game is not out of hand by this point, right? The game is still very much, you know, in a situation where Michigan State, hey, you get a touchdown, maybe you kind of get Ohio State to think a little bit, maybe you can force them into making a mistake, momentum, but put the ball on the ground. So unfortunate, man. But I already said that Jeremiah Smith is hard to guard, for anybody, right? He's one of those special players, man. He is putting on like a performance almost kind of how, like Travis Hunter's doing, where it's like these guys are performing at a level, from day one against players that have been in college for multiple years, and they just got here and they are just fresh out of high school, and they're just like, I'm just better than you, right? So that's kind of what Jeremiah Smith was doing, man. The Aiden Childs interception, I mean, no pressure in his face, got his shoulders squared. I don't know if you're trying to throw it to Jake Velling in the right there. I don't know if you're trying to throw it over to the second level where he did have a guy that looked to be open. I don't know. Just, I mean, it was just, again, I don't know if it was a situation similar to what it was, against Boston College, where, I was asking the question, well, did the ball, slip out of his hand, because it was, the Boston College game was wet, the one where he threw the ball behind Jake Velling. I mean, I don't really know. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was jitters or what the situation is, but like I said, the consistency. It has to get better. But again, I can't blame too much on Aiden Childs. Honestly, when you have a situation where you only have 47 rushing yards. I don't know how much. And like I said, the one game this year where it looked like the offense was like from a productivity standpoint, put on his shoulders against Maryland, right? But he ended up throwing in 3 interceptions, but those 3 interceptions were canceled out by 3 passing touchdowns. But I don't think that was the type of scenario that you want to get in with Ohio State, where they are able to just pin their ears back and just come after the quarterback because you have essentially abandoned the run game, because or even the formations and the sets, the under center sets where you do the play action and things like that. You didn't want to exclusively line up in the gun against, an Ohio State front, especially with, some of the issues that, you know, Michigan State has had up front, right? So, I don't necessarily know. But again, we're playing a team that on paper is more talented than you are, and you gave them additional opportunities to score. They don't need it. That's one thing about Ohio State. Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, I throw my Miami in there. They don't need your help. They don't. You know what I mean? They do fine enough just running their sets to get points and move down the field. They don't need any additional help. But if you give them some help, it's not like they're not gonna say, oh no, we're fine. We don't need that. If you throw us the ball directly for interception, we're gonna catch it. If you fumble the ball and don't recover, we're gonna jump on it, right? So they don't need any additional help. They don't need your help. So and like I said, got another juggernaut coming right up. Gotta play Oregon, right? So I don't know who scheduled this schedule like this. They didn't. Ooh, Lord, Ohio State and Oregon in back-to-back weeks. It's gonna be interesting. Like I said, you can't beat top tier teams. Giving the turnovers. Oregon again, another team. They don't need your help. A team that I've been watching, and they they haven't played their best game yet, right? And to me, that's kind of scary because where they play their best game against Michigan State, which to me, I don't think Michigan State has played their best game either. Personally, I may sound a little bit biased by saying this, but I do think Michigan State does have the ability to play better. They do. Um, Whether or not they actually do it, I don't know. Right? I honestly don't know. But like I said, at the beginning of the video, I can see the potential in offense. That potential to me obviously probably won't be coming into fruition to probably the end part of this season. And obviously, I think next year, Michigan State is going to be a team that I feel like they will be able to compete in the Big Ten. Because I do think Aiden Childs can take this particular year. Not saying the year's over because it's still relatively early, right? Still relatively early. Because right now, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a couple fumbles and things like that. So obviously, it's gonna be the first thing that has to be addressed is just and I don't want to just say it's carelessness with the ball, right? Because I don't think he's just going out there. Obviously, there are a couple of interceptions that I've seen him throw where it could have been a slip. It could have just been bad fundamentals with the ball. But I don't see anything at Aiden Childs that I don't think can be fixed, right? I don't look at it and say, okay, this is a lost cause, right? But like I said, I do see the potential there. Again, hard fought game. They had a hard game, playing the University of Oregon, and like I said, it's gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to see, right? Um, Like I said, Oregon is my team. Oregon's a team that I feel like has the most to win the Big Ten this year. But I do think, just kind of looking at them, each and every week, I do think there are some things that Michigan State can take advantage of, right? I do think so. Their offensive line, you know, for the early part of the season hasn't been as consistent. So maybe, Michigan State can make it interesting, right? Get some tackles for loss, maybe get some sacks, maybe put them in some unfortunate situations. I think the secondary is not as strong as it looks to be on paper. I don't think the pass rush is as strong as it looks to be on paper. Again, like I said, I'm not just saying all these particular things, and again, like I said, this is a team that I feel like can win the Big Ten. And I'm speaking about Oregon, right? But I do see some things that are kind of concerning. And I do see some situations where Michigan State can make it interesting. But again, it's not going to be interesting if you give them the ball. If and again, kudos. Again, another week lowering the penalties, right? Lowering the penalties, right? So if you can get the penalty situation, where if you can get the turnover situation to start mimicking the penalty situation, which is minimum, hey, Michigan State, they're solid. I mean they really are. You know what I mean? I'm not again, like I said, I'm not just saying this because I'm covering a team and I'm trying to blow smoke up anybody's butt. But like seriously, I think anybody logically watching this team, you can sit up here and say they're not as bad as probably people thought they were. A lot of the issues that they're having are really self-inflicted for the most part. They're self-inflicted. Turnovers are really self-inflicted, especially some of these turnovers because I don't really see out of the 8 interceptions that Aiden Childs has thrown, I will probably maybe chalk 2 of them up to just simply pressure. The rest of them, I think, has just solely been him. The Jake Velling fumble again. I don't know the fumble he had this game. I don't really see a situation. And again, I think a lot of stuff is self-inflicted. Now, again, I'm not saying that if without these issues that they win these games. I'm not saying that, but I do think that they're not bad. They're a solid team. They really are. And I think they have to give themselves an opportunity to make these games more interesting by not turning the ball over, right? And I do think against a team such as Oregon, which again, the scary thing about teams like that is they have the ability to turn it on and turn it off. So Oregon very well could come in here and treat Michigan State like they did Oregon State. Just turn up on them, shine on them, right? They had that opportunity. Or they very well could come out here and it could be a situation like Idaho or a situation like Boise State where the game has to come down to where you need all three, you know, forms of the team, offense, defense, and special teams to contribute, right? So again, I don't think they're as outmatched just based on the way Oregon has played, right? Now if Oregon was playing like many people expected them to play, then I would straight up say, look, it don't matter if they turn the ball over or not. They're not going to beat Oregon. Not saying that I'm not saying they can't beat Oregon. Not saying that. Not gonna say that. But Michigan State has an opportunity to make this game more interesting just because Oregon, for whatever reason, seems to just be sleepwalking through this thing right now, right? So, but again, don't make it easy for them, man. Don't give them additional opportunities. They don't need them. It's like seeing a millionaire walking down the street and you got $100. He doesn't need the 100. Don't give it to him. You know what I'm saying? He don't need it. With that being said, man, like I said, I'm intrigued to check out to see how this game goes. You know what I mean? Hopefully, maybe they may be able to. I don't know, man. Maybe they may be able to run the ball a little bit better against Oregon. I don't know. Hopefully they can. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I see the potential in this offense. With that being said, man, I'm out, man. Like, share, subscribe, comment as always, man. Peace.